we all know bots can be great tools for consistency and risk management, right? So, but they always carry risk. So my advice from the outset is always backtest, always test on demo before going live. I've always wanted to experiment with strategies, build systems, but there was always a big wall in front of me. I'm not a coder. My imagination stopped where my coding skills ended. Something in the last year or so changed, right? We have now a lot of AI powered software. We have ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and we have other tools as well. So with these tools, I'm much closer to that dream, right? So suddenly I found myself able to describe my strategies in plain English, and we can have AI, write the code for me. So first of all, I wanted to talk about why bots are such a big deal right now. Bots don't get tired, right? They can run 24/7 executing your strategy while you sleep. They don't have emotions. They don't get greedy. They don't panic, right? They just follow rules exactly every time, right? So that consistency is very powerful because, as you may know, traders lose discipline or can lose discipline in the heat of the moment. So third, bots also unlock analytics. So with every trade, with every opportunity, there's something which can be logged, right? So that means we can then go back and understand why particular trades were executed or not executed, right? We can go back and measure performance. We can check win rates. We can check drawdowns. We can check expectancies and other risk management metrics. And that can help us actually systematically improve our strategy. So the real breakthrough has been, of course, in the past, building bots meant coding, right? And in the past, I even had to hire developers or a developer to help me code strategy in Python. And now I feel a lot more empowered to just jump in and start building strategies myself. So today, with AI and with the technological advances, that barrier is gone now. So let's first talk about bots versus manual, that kind of old debate. So bots, as mentioned, the big strengths are consistency, discipline, right? They run 24/7. They don't get emotional. They can log every trade and opportunity. So not only every trade that's executed, but also every missed opportunity as well. So you can analyze performance, right? Bots in particular situations are not perfect, right? They only follow the rules that you've defined, right? So if your strategy is not robust enough, the bot will may trade certain situations badly, right? So on the manual side, right, we're a lot more flexible when we trade, right? We can interpret news, unexpected events, we use our intuition. But our downside, I guess, is emotions and fatigue, right? So we often break our own rules and we rarely log data as well as bots do. Bots, of course, it's not just for trading strategies, right? They can also act as scanners. You can build them for alert systems, right? So there's a huge variety of different use cases that bots can provide. The classic use case is execution, right? A bot can buy or sell based on whatever your strategy is. But as I mentioned already, bots can also act as scanners or screeners, right? They can constantly monitor multiple instruments. So for example, one of the strategies I developed a couple of years ago, the bot was monitoring, I think it was a couple of hundred instruments altogether. So within a split second, it was able to monitor the price action on a couple of hundred instruments together, and just kept on checking. So this was more like a scalping strategy. Your bots can just act as a risk manager for you, right? They can give you all of your risk metrics like maximum drawdown, average trade duration, right? So just giving that professional insight into your performance. And one good thing, of course, is tinkering. For me, playing with a strategy is like tinkering with a car, right? So there's always lots of variables. There's optimization, there's backtesting, and you could essentially build an optimization engine which can test hundreds of scenarios automatically, finding the best configurations. You can use bots for alerts as well. I've connected bots with Telegram, which can give me alerts on Telegram whenever an entry or exit condition is satisfied. So I just want to touch upon the development loop. So traditionally, you'd have to learn, MQL4 for MT4, MQL5 for MT5. You'd have to be writing hundreds of lines of code, debugging, testing them. But now AI changes everything. So the loop now is essentially, right, with the tools we have now, you can describe your strategy in plain English, right? So for example, buy when the 50 simple moving average crosses the 200, blah, blah, blah. And AI can generate develop a full strategy for you in MQL5. It can handle the syntax, it can handle the structure, it can handle the logic. And then you can take that code and run it in the strategy tester, right? So, and then of course the refinement. There's actually a very high number of iterations which you'll find that bots need, right? Because especially in this case where you're not coding it directly, you'll see this as well later on. So complexity, of course, there's different levels of complexity when it comes to bots. Level 1, I would say, is very simple. Level 2, you start adding, basic risk management. Level 3, you start combining different indicators. Level 4, you start bringing in different market filters as well. And level 5, you start having configurable inputs. You start logging every trade executed. You have very detailed log files. You may even have alerts. You have optimizable parameters that you can test as well. So my point is that it's a journey, right? So it's a journey. Some of you may start at level 1. Some of you may kind of combine level 1 and 2 together before getting comfortable with the level 5. Bots in MT5, right? We call them EAs, and they run on the MT5 desktop platform, right? So unfortunately right now they don't run on MT5 web, and they don't run directly inside the MT5 mobile app as well. And this may often surprise people. So actually the most people who run bots without interruptions normally do it through a VPS, a virtual private server. So think of it as a cloud computer that's always on, so your bot keeps running even when your laptop is closed, right? So it ensures that you have that stable internet connection. A lot of the VPSs are located close to the matching engines and exchange servers, right? So you have low latency execution, and you have the security as well. So essentially then you're using your mobile phone to log into this VPS, and actually the mobile app can then be used for just monitoring and control. You can see your open positions, but the actual execution's happening on the VPS. So I've played around with a lot of different tools. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, they all do a good job at generating code. but each tool has its limitations. So for example, I found that Claude often stops and then says, max limit has been reached, and then you start a new chat and it forgets all the previous history, so you lose the context of your strategy, which can be very frustrating. And I've never found ChatGPT or Gemini to be as good as Claude when it comes to coding. But then I discovered IDEs. So IDEs are integrated development environments. So one such IDE is a tool called Cursor. So it's essentially a professional coding workspace. And what makes Cursor special is it has AI built right into it. That means, you have your coding on your left, and on the right, you're essentially typing in natural language. It remembers the context, right? So you don't have to start fresh each time. So it reads the actual code base and it can apply edits, surgical edits, right, directly. So you're working a lot quicker. Your iterations are much faster, and it works a lot better for more complex EAs, which may, for example, have up to a couple of thousand lines of code. This is why I believe that these IDEs like Cursor will be the future of strategy development. All you have to do is describe your strategy. You can code it, you can test it, refine it, right? So AI works as your co-pilot. There's a prompt which I'm gonna show you a few prompts, and there's a README strategy which I'm gonna introduce to you in just a short moment. But I'll be honest with you, it kind of took 30 hours of work to get from the first prompt to now, right? So it was time consuming. It wasn't just like, hey, 2 hours of work and I've got something, so there's a starting point, but the journey can be quite long. So one of the strategies that I developed maybe a couple of months ago was this strategy called hybrid market regime adaptive EA. So the idea is quite simple, right? Markets don't behave the same way. Sometimes they're trending, sometimes they're ranged, right? And many strategies you find are either designed for one or the other, right? They're designed for either a trended or a breakout market, or they're designed for a range market. So the whole point of this EA was for it to be adaptive, right? It first determines what the current market regime is, i.e., is the market trending? And if it is, it switches to the trend following strategy, right? So, and if the market is ranged, right, it changes the behavior completely, right? It then starts using different logic, mean reversion logic. So it also has built-in risk management, and it has very detailed log files. So for example, this would be maybe an example of the initial prompt that you might have, right? Write an expert advisor, detects whether the market's trending or ranged using ADX. If ADX suggests a strong trend, label the market as trending, or otherwise label it as ranging. EA should not place trades yet, right? Just display the current regime on the chart, right? Then, for example, you develop the prompt. Okay, fine, extend EA so that when the market's trending, it starts using moving average crossover to confirm the direction. Let's start incorporating the Donchian channel breakout. Let's use the ATR as a buffer for entries, right? Let's start setting the stop losses and take profit, right? So this is kind of an example of how the prompt is getting developed at each stage of the way. So essentially now you're adding the range mode. Okay, so blah blah blah. Let's now use RSI Bollinger Bands. So I'm just kind of wanted to show how prompts kind of work, how they get developed, right? So then now we're starting to add the regime switching and the filters, right? So add filters so the EA doesn't trade if volatility is too low or too high, right? Add a filter so the EA doesn't trade if the spreads are unusually wide, right? So keep all of the risk management ATR based. ATR is the average true range. And then the fifth one, right? So this is now kind of, again, layering the prompt where you start using exponential moving average crossover, right? You have this buffer, which is itself a variable. You're checking for overextension in the range mode. You're seeing how many times the price is bouncing off X% within X% of the Bollinger Bands, right? So for example, if you have a chart with the upper and lower Bollinger Band, right, how many times does it bounce up and down, right? Go up and down. So it looks at this as a confirmation for an entry as well. Then the risk management needs to be very comprehensive, right? You don't want to just have a simple take profit stop loss, right? You want to have essentially a trailing stop incorporated. And then afterwards, all the other kind of thresholds, indicators, the logging, etc. So this is the README file essentially. So this is the strategy that we're going to go through right now. The key concepts, right? How the EA works, and all of the variables essentially, right? What are the entry conditions? What are the exit conditions? Money management, glossary, parameters, explains all the different parameters. So this is Cursor. This is the tool that I've been talking about. So can you please build this automated strategy for MT5 using MQL5, have the code on just one page. And then I've just pasted this. This is all I'll do, and send. So it's already started. You can see it's already started writing the strategy. So the good thing is the way it's structured it, right? Essentially, it's set up the input parameters, it's set up the breakout strategy settings, the range settings, money management. So everything actually is very easy to follow. It has default values as well. It has your exit settings. It has your global filters as well. And essentially it's going, right? It'll carry on writing it. So again, as I said, with the structure, it's nice how everything is being broken apart, right? Detect current market regime, check trend entry conditions, check range entry conditions, open a new position, etc., etc. Get the Donchian channel high, get the Donchian channel low, etc., etc. Okay, so from here, this will keep running just to save time. As a chef would say, this is one I prepared earlier. I hope you can see this one as well. So this is what I was playing with last night, and I can see it still needs a little bit of work, right? However, what we'll do now is we'll actually backtest this in MT5, right? So I'll just select the code. We'll open the language editor So this is the language editor in MT5. I'm going to go and paste the code in here. The next thing I'll do is I'll just compile it to see if there's any errors. There's no errors. However, if there was an error, you would essentially copy the error back into Cursor and say, help me resolve these errors. And it would help you resolve the errors. So now I'm just basically, I'll save it. And now we have MT5. Essentially, this is the strategy. It's over here. I'm going to play it on gold. We'll select the 8-hour time frame, and for the custom period, I'll just do it for the last 3 years and start. So you can see this is the equity curve, and it's running. And done.